Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we have Craig Caryl with us, and Craig, in our pre-discussion, I'm just very fascinated with your whole concept. So maybe you could just go through a little history of how you got from basically New Hampshire College to where you are now.
Well, I got expelled from New Hampshire College as I did from every school I ever went to from the third grade on, and I came out west because I just couldn't break the heart of my poor single mother once again. I couldn't tell her yet another school had kicked me out, so I just said after my freshman year at college, I said, "Mom, I'm going west," and that's the story of how I got to California.
All right. So, and now you're in the basic world of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and you're working with insurance companies. So tell us how that all goes together.
Well, I became fascinated by large commercial infrastructure about 10 years ago, which sounds very odd, but an electrician basically introduced me to the concept that all of the sort of knowledge, what we call the MEP knowledge of these buildings was held in the head of one or two people in the facility, right? Might be the building engineer, might be the facility manager. And so it was a pain point. It was a friction point for everybody working either at these buildings or as a vendor in the buildings to get this information. You know, where is this air handling unit getting its power from? Where's it getting its water from? If I have to work on that air handling unit, how do I figure it out? So I realized there was an opportunity to create a very visual kind of mapping system, kind of like the Google Maps of MEP, and we called it Critical Asset. So that's criticalasset.com, and that is our software that is designed for commercial facilities 50,000 square feet or larger, that they want to salvage that institutional knowledge. So before Bob the electrician retires after 30 years and his information walks out with him, you can download that information into our software. It speeds up the internal labor process by about 10%. And external, from a vendor standpoint, it speeds it up about 20%. Seems very obvious, but where I really started to see success is being able to use AI to run an analysis on all of that infrastructure, to kind of look at the serial numbers and the model numbers and look at 10,000 other valves with that serial number and identify problems, right? I realized that once I had all this data, it was completely usable from an operations standpoint, but it was even more valuable to the insurance broker, to the insurance carrier, to the owner, because we could flag issues. We could look at failure rates of other products with that serial number and look at how old your products were and then make an analysis that would prevent business interruption, prevent losses, claims, water leaks. And that's where the company started to really make an impact in people's bottom lines and become very appealing to everybody from ownership to brokerages to insurance carriers themselves.
So you started out actually with this similar concept in the multifamily world, and then now you've kind of leaped into the larger 50,000 square foot office buildings or commercial buildings from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been fascinated by how software can change lives, right? How it can effectively speed up the process, make it more efficient. But then one of the challenges is getting people to use it. Like, you can have the greatest piece of software in the world. If the rank and file won't use it, then you have nothing. You have achieved nothing. So one of the challenges is always to make complex software super easy. So at this point with our software, it's all point and shoot, right? You send us the plans, we can pull off, a large amount of data. We may not know the serial number of that air handling unit, but we know where that air handling unit sits in your facility. So before we do anything, before we have any interaction with those plans, we can pull out a ton of data. And then in the sort of normal workday, the facility team can go around, take pictures, send us those pictures. Our system will sew that all together, do the analysis, and then ultimately provide what we call a CAR score, a critical asset risk score. That's cachet that your insurance broker can now use to demonstrate that, hey, my client is doing a great job. And here's the proof of the job they're doing. And here's the 10 things they found that they're fixing already that they put in their next CapEx budget that are not going to become claims, right? And so that is meaningful to the insurance carrier because, one of the things I learned in this whole insurance MEP infrastructure space is that insurance carriers have no lens and view into how people are really caring for their buildings, right? Something that is responsible for over 40% of the water leaks and claims in a $16 billion insurance market is really not well understood by the insurance carriers because they don't have a view. They don't know, are you doing a good job or you're not doing a good job? And so we're able to give a view into the job that those clients are doing. Now that job could be terrible and maybe you don't want to share our report with the carrier, but that tends to not work that way. Usually the people that are interested in our software are interested because they're doing a good job and they feel like they're paying too much on their insurance.
So I'm curious if that I didn't realize that the facilities person with their phone with their camera can go around and start to lace together all the equipment, and I was thinking that you had to go to the site, but that doesn't sound like the case.
Look, ideally we go for a day or two because it's a chance for us to handhold the shall we say the less computer comfortable folks. Like we can get in there and show them how easy it is. There's a real phobia in the rank and file of change, of any kind of change. So
Right.
the way to overcome that is to show them that by embracing this change, actually their lives become better, right? They know what kind of PPE to be wearing when they're going to a certain location. They know what tools they need to have. They know what sort of lighting driver they need to have in their cart. Whatever it is, they can get a visual of what they're going to work on and download maintenance records and everything before they leave their office, right? So ultimately, it works for them. But sometimes you got to handhold people and walk them through that and show them where the big red button is. And then all of a sudden, oh, the big red button. And then I do this and it all comes together. And it's like a magic trick. You just, teach them about the magic trick, show them the magic trick. And then they're like, they love it. And some of the people that were our biggest naysayers are the ones who have done the most detailed work on their facility because it's a point of pride. Most facility managers and building engineers, they are very prideful men, typically. They have been working for decades to store up this knowledge, and they know when they leave, that knowledge goes down the toilet, unless they have a system like Critical Asset. But then the real driver is the fact that now Critical Asset, that the cost of Critical Asset can be offset by the insurance savings. Now I've got the ear of every owner in America. There's not a single owner that won't take my phone call for 10 minutes when they hear that.
So I'm curious, do you include elevators in this process?
Yeah, any part of the infrastructure. Elevators, get power. They're very much involved. You could put anything you want in our system. Somebody reached out to me recently with a car wash. And I was like, we could do the same analysis with a car wash because it's serial numbers and infrastructure relationship.
So I assume you take a picture of the equipment and then you take a picture of the serial number and you put all that together in a map, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially turning that MEP infrastructure into, kind of underwriting data, helping carriers, sort of better price this stuff.
So I'm curious, as a car wash, what if an owner comes to you and he only has like 10,000 square foot buildings, but he's got 50 of them? I assume that's still a product you want to work with.
Same thing. It's a typical problem. You look at a company like Chili's, they might have 1,500 locations across America, and maybe they have 6 different layouts, right? So then they got, 200 or 300 different versions of these. And then they got one person that has to oversee like 100 versions of them. That one person cannot keep all that data in their head. That spreadsheet's like 10 pages long. So if you just have a system that flags things that are becoming issues, and you can tie the system into IoT devices and water intrusion devices, and there's all sorts of neat things that you can do to kind of take our baseline system to the next level.
Yeah, no, this sounds like a fantastic opportunity for large building owners or building owners that have a lot of property to kind of hopefully reduce their insurance costs substantially. So what you said previously that you can reduce the insurance costs by how much?
Well, we believe that on average, it will be between 1 and 5%.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
our typical client has a building that's worth like what they call TIV, total insured value of 100 million.
Right.
Somebody with $100 million building is probably paying about $1 million a year for their insurance, right? For their
Right.
property and casualty insurance. So if we can save them, 3% or $30,000, we've more than paid for our software, just out of the gate. And so that's kind of where we want to be. And ultimately, what we want to do is help that company run that building better. Because where we want to be in the future, in the next year or two, is we want to be able to write that insurance. That's the next generation for our company, is looking at the best operators and basically insuring them ourselves. And we're working on that. It's called an MGA, stands for Managing General Agent. And it's basically where we as a company, InsureMEP, goes to a larger insurance carrier and says, look, we have this operational software that is reducing risk, is reducing losses, and we think we can help make better profits for the carrier, deliver better service to your client by writing the policy ourselves. And that's ultimately what an MGA does. And you want to kind of look at how people are operating and then take the very best operators and insure them. Because you're still going to have claims, you're still going to have losses, but you can reduce it by looking at the little things that people are doing on a daily basis. Are they changing the filters in the water fountain every 90 days? Are they doing their Legionnaires test, in New York City, whatever, on every month, whatever that protocol is? Are they doing it? Because if they are, they're naturally going to have less claims. If they're not, then they're a bigger risk. We want to be able to price the insurance policy according to how we see them operating. Pattern of life data, we call it.
So I assume your fee structure is one of sort of an upfront fee with a monthly amount.
Yeah, it's like a typical annual SaaS software as a service fee. It ranges from $5,000 to 20,000 and up. If you got 10 million square feet, that's going to be an enterprise license. There's not a set fee for that. It's based on the number of buildings and square feet, but kind of $5,000 to $20,000 a year is a good range. And then ultimately, if we can insure you, we could save you substantially more than 1 to 5% on your insurance. We may be able to save you 10, 15, 20% on your insurance.
So
Um,
so so I'm curious how you're actually marketing yourself.
well, we haven't officially launched the company. We're going to launch the
Oh,
company next month, June 2nd, at Tech Week. We'll be in New York. We'll be making some big announcements of some new clients. We just got our first city. I think we just got
wow.
our first hotel. They're not under contract yet, so I can't actually mention the names, but they're gigantic names. You'll be like, what? So,
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna have some big announcements. We're gonna close our first round. We're just closing our first $1 million raise. We're about $200,000 more, which we'll close this month. So, really, we're on the doing a groundswell right now, like closing new ground, bringing new hospitals on, new universities, kind of establishing our baseline, and then we'll start to really promote the company this summer. A lot of podcasts, a lot of short sort of construction influence type people, turnover document type people. We're a perfect addendum to a turnover. You're an architect, so imagine if you were done building this hospital and instead of handing them a bunch of BIM files that nobody can read in facilities because they don't know how to operate BIM, we could take that version and download it into sort of a 2D realm that any 7-year-old can drag and drop and figure out and connect the dots. Now you've got a powerful tool, right? You've got an operational tool that day one facilities has the benefit of this CAD information that they've never had access to.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, I'm very excited about this. Where can people get a hold of you, Craig?
Easiest is to email me. It's Craig at insuremep.com, INSUREMEP. You can call my cell phone, area code 718-839-0115. I'm located in Southern California with a New York number. Long story. You can go to my website, InsureMEP.com, or go to CriticalAsset.com, or just send a pigeon over here with a little note on its pigeon talon or paw, whatever they call it.
Yeah. Okay. The carrier pigeon will be out very soon, I'm sure. So
Cool.
we'll look forward to that. Well, I think we should talk in another 3 to 6 months and see how the launch is going. That would be
Okay.
fantastic. I'd love to do it. All
If
right.
you're in New York, June 2nd will be at Dempsey's Restaurant. That's our home away from home. Dempsey's Bar on near Madison Square Garden, June 2nd.
Okay. All of you listeners, go to Dempsey's June 2nd, right?
Cocktails on me.
Okay. All right. Well, we may get some takers on that one.
Thanks,
All
Bruce. I
right. Well,
really
great to
appreciate
have
it.
you.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.